If we are talking iconic games in the Sonic the Hedgehog series, arguably a game that is talked about very frequently is the Sonic Adventure series, with the first big adventure releasing in late December of 1998. The game was set to capture what Sonic would feel like if it was transitioned to 3D properly, and although it ain't the first 3D Sonic game released, this one truly felt special to so many people, including myself, though granted I played the DX version instead, but don't worry about it. And sure, the game has its flaws. I'd say the 66.6% of the gameplay is really enjoyable. The other 33.3% repeating, I mean, it functions, I'll give it that. And after that one, we got Sonic's 10th anniversary game of Sonic Adventure 2, releasing in 2001 with a ton of praise, along with many years of future discourse when it comes to the gameplay, Chow Gardens, voice actors, pissing on the moon, etc, etc. Even still, 2 decades and a half later, it is still talked about to this day. But with all that being said, one of the most common questions when it comes to this specific series is, where is Sonic Adventure 3? Short answer, it doesn't exist. Well, canonically at least. There are many fan projects and fan interpretations over the years, none of which of Sega and Sonic Team actually released. And there seems to be no plans of releasing a Sonic Adventure 3 anytime soon, at least according to multiple interviews. But what if Sonic Adventure 3 already exists? Kinda. Okay, in this video, I'm going to explore a few entries in the Sonic series that may not have the title of Sonic Adventure 3, but are very close in style, story, and even gameplay. Now, don't take this video as 100% proof that a game was supposed to be Adventure 3, so don't go spreading this around like it's true or anything. This is more of a headcanon than anything actually factual. So with that out of the way, here are some of the Sonic entries that are close to the Sonic Adventure series brand as much as possible, starting with... Oh, did I already reach a point in my channel where I have to talk about Sonic 06? Oh, I have? That's neat. Alrighty, where is my clip notes? Alright, here we go. Sonic 06 bad, Sonic 06 rush, Sonic 06 had potential. Mention Project 06 for some reason as it's the only 06 fan creation out there. Legacy of Solaris also is great by the way too. And Sonic get kissed by a girl. Alright, I just saved you like 3 minutes of history that you could have gotten in the past 20 years. Subscribe for that. 06 released back 20 years ago. I hate my life. Another generally common talking point about 06 is that a lot of people think that it's kind of close to a Sonic Adventure game. So it isn't much of an uncommon opinion, but it's also kind of true too. According to interviews, Sonic 06 was supposed to be a soft revival of the series, asking the question of what if Sonic was in the real world? Although we got the answer to that question to that very interestingly in this game. And later on we managed to get that same question asked in the Sonic movie. The general direction of the game was more going to be focused on the adventure titles, and we see that here in the gameplay. There are multiple stories set across one big narrative-driven story akin to the first adventure game. There are multiple hub worlds where you can interact with the population, just like in Adventure 1. There are even missions that you can take on, like in Adventure DX. You also have 9 levels that all the main characters traverse at least once, similar to Adventure 1. And there's even a new Hedgehog character named Silver that ties into the main plot of the game. And Amy also mistakes him for Sonic. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice? Girl, you gotta get your eyes checked. No wonder you can't drive in Sonic R. I could continue with the many similarities, but you get the idea. The only thing I could really say that there's evidence against this is that the fact that there's nothing really tying the first 2 adventure games to 06. There are some references here and there, like the Shadow story featuring GUN or the Guardian Units of Nation, being very prevalent in Shadow's campaign after the events of Adventure 2 and Shadow the Hedgehog. Concepts like chaos control being tied to the main plot, the past being important in some way, as well as some general mechanical techniques that were in some previous adventure games do carry over. Story-wise, like I mentioned, it's supposed to be a soft reboot. Again, let's break out the cliff notes here. Since story bad, game was cut from the timeline, Silver in future game was supposed to be the Silver from the Rival series, Mephiles the Dark is still stuck in purgatory. Man, these cliff notes are really, really long. But yeah, Sonic 06 has many similarities to the previous adventure games, so loosely, I can kinda see it being an Adventure 3, but I know certain fans on the internet would have you hung on a wooden stake after that opinion. So let's go talk about a less controversial game, or has at least less discourse online, or less than 06. Honestly, let's face it, any Sonic game has discourse. Like, have you seen the amount of slander towards Sonic's Schoolhouse recently? Hell yeah, my nostalgia. Released in 2003, Sonic Heroes is a much more different experience. More functional than our previous discussion, but it can get on my nerves sometimes, especially going for 100%. I swear, if I put out another torch in this mansion, I'm going to punt a crocodile. But we're here to talk about how it actually could be the Sonic Adventure 3 with these pieces of evidence. Evidence 1. The gameplay. The game is a fully 3D platformer with a large hallway-like level design similar to Adventure 2. And similar to Adventure 1, all the teams go through the same exact stages, but with slightly different routes and enemy placements. And some gameplay abilities carry over from Adventure 2, like Sonic and Shadow being the only ones with the Lightspeed Dash ability. I mean, the gameplay structure is vastly different how you would play something like Adventure 2, and with Heroes being more team-focused, it still needs to compare some aspects from the two previous adventures. Evidence 2. Team Dark. Team Dark consists of Shadow, Rouge, and newcomer Omega. The opening cutscene for the specific story literally starts with Rouge opening up Shadow's containment pod after the events of Adventure 2. The whole story evolves around Shadow and whether or not he's actually a real deal or just a fake. So you can see that as some sort of extension to the ending of Sonic Adventure 2, an epilogue if you will. Furthermore, Omega is in the E series of robots, which is the title given to the other playable robot in Sonic Adventure, that being E102 Gamma and its brothers too. Even Sonic and Shadow have a rival fight in a forest surrounded by a body of water. This whole team is just the adventure team, and to think it would have been something like Chaos, E102, and Big the Cat. Game development can be crazy sometimes. Evidence 3. The callbacks. Although not a direct piece of evidence, there are a lot of pieces of dialogue that refers to the events of Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. Knuckles and Amy mentioned the egg carrier in Final Fortress after blowing up the first part of the stage.
This weather reminds me of our last attack on the egg carrier.
Amy mentioned Casinopolis in Casino Park Zone.
This city reminds me of Casinopolis.
Omega literally name drops Gamma and Beta after getting an E rank.
I couldn't even beat Gamma or Beta.
Metal Sonic and Eggman mentioned Chaos in the final cutscenes of the last story and Team Rose respectively.
Just combine your data with the power of chaos.
And a few other voice lines from characters that just have idle chit-chat here and there.
Ghost must really like me for some reason.
This might be more of a timeline thing than a direct piece of evidence of it being a true sequel, but damn, I wanted to mention it because it's cool. Also, I don't know if I'll ever bring this up again, but we have proof of God in the Sonic universe.
Oh my god!
Amy, watch your language. Evidence 4. It literally being implied in later Sonic games. Honestly, this piece of evidence just basically confirms it. In Sonic Generations, each of the 9 stages are separated through eras of sorts. For example, Green Hill, Chemical Plant, and Sky Sanctuary are all part of the Sonic Genesis era levels. So by taking that knowledge and saying that Speed Highway from Sonic Adventure 1, City Escape from Sonic Adventure 2, and Seaside Hill from Heroes, you could basically call that the Adventure era. Even early on in development, the team wanted an Adventure era Sonic implemented in the story, though that was cut to a multitude of reasons. So combined with all of that, with just the release order of the main series of games, I rest my case with one final sentence. This is a Sonic game where you go on an adventure playing as 3 characters at once. Need I say more? I mean, the only thing I can really say that doesn't really follow up on Adventure 2's story aside from the events of Team Dark, there's really not much of importance of aspects like the Chaos Emeralds, the Arg, the Chows. If anything, you could argue that Heroes is more of a celebration of the previous adventures or the series as a whole. I did mention the previous planned teams of Heroes development, so you could probably deduce that it was meant to be something along those lines. But online, saying that Heroes is Adventure 3 isn't too much of an uncommon take. especially if Sonic Team literally thinks of it as a continuation in generations. But before I move on to the final entry that I think would be a good fitting Adventure 3, I do want to mention a few potential arguments I could see for another game being Adventure 3. Alright, so this is a little bit of a stretch, but I do have my reasonings. It may seem weird to have a game that feels like its own thing being Adventure 3, but Shadow the Hedgehog definitely has a lot of DNA that would come straight from the Adventure titles. More specifically, Adventure 2. The biggest piece of evidence is how the story of Shadow ties back to a lot of aspects of Adventure 2. Plot points like his origin story, the arc, and a few references to the previous game. Sure, Shadow the Hedgehog's story is more tangled up than the actual character named Tangle in the Sonic universe, but it's there. You just have to find it multiple times. Plus, the gameplay does feel like an extension of mechanics in Heroes, which was most likely built off the engine of Adventure 2. Though, obviously, there's one major flaw with this, and let's say that it's Sonic Adventure 3 and you just played the previous 2 Adventure games before this, you just have to accept the fact that Shadow dies in the finale of Adventure 2 and then magically comes back to life in the opening cutscene of Shadow the Hedgehog, skipping Hero's reintroduction to the character. That would just feel like a major plot hole, though Shadow the Hedgehog is full of plot holes and inconsistencies anyways, so I guess it fits right in. You know, if you put Elmo's glue and dollar store thumbtacks on it. The gameplay only featuring Shadow would just also be a major letdown if this was Adventure 3, and no, I'm not counting Player 2 with the second controller in your hands like Sonic. I mean, that's been there since Sonic 2, for God's sake. Though if you want a playable Maria, there you go. Give it to your little brother. So Shadow the Hedgehog may not be Adventure 3, but I mean, it does feel like an extension of the lore. I mean, like, you could just call it Shadow the Hedgehog, Sonic Adventure 3. It might make a little bit more sense. I mean, if Mario Land 3, Wario Land get away with it, why not Shadow? It really makes you think. Okay, I know this is strange, but you gotta understand me on this. Sonic Unleashed might actually be the third adventure title. The first piece of evidence is in the Japanese title for the game because it's called Sonic World Adventure. And, that's the only piece of evidence I got. Everything else essentially deconfirms it from the gameplay, to Sonic being the only playable character, to that the story doesn't even tie into the other adventure games. There's literally nothing that supports this. But if that's the case, let's go deeper. What if we were to believe that Sonic World Adventure is part of the Adventure series? Then personally, I think it'd be Sonic Adventure 4. Back to my main question, what is Sonic Adventure 3? Well, that's Sonic Adventure 2, of course. My reasoning is that it's the third game with the adventure title in it. And you may think that Sonic Adventure, right? That's the first one in the title. No, you absolute fools! Sonic Adventure is the second game to have the adventure title in it. The first game in the Sonic series to have the adventure title in it is Tails Adventure on the Game Gear. Does it play like the future games? No, but who cares? Surely I don't, but we're still gonna go deeper, damn it! If you consider every title so far as an adventure title, we'd have 4 titles so far. You know, if you have a small brain, because in 2001 and 2003, we got remasters of Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2. DX and Battle specifically. Are they new games? I don't know, but there's new stuff in it, so both of it could be seen as new games, so why not? We have 6 adventure games, and you already know where this is going, because we already have a Sonic Adventure 6! It is on the Game Boy Color, and it's peak! No one can stop me. Oh, and you already know that there's a Sonic Adventure 8, so let's recap. Here's the timeline. Nothing else matters. Everything is canon!
Wow, my head's spinning!
But in all seriousness, no, Sonic Unleashed was definitely not Sonic Adventure 3. There is no correlation between the previous adventure games and this one in any context, but damn, doing the research on the video made me realize that adventure is just a hard name to use in the title, otherwise people may mistake it to actually think that it's one game in the Sonic Adventure series. But in actuality, it may just be its own thing. You know, obviously. But I do have one more example of what could actually be Sonic Adventure 3. And I'm being serious this time. Oh, trust me, I'm being serious. Okay, so remember what I was saying before going down this adventure-filled rabbit hole? So with that out of the way, here are some of the Sonic entries that are close to the Sonic Adventure series brand as much as possible. I never said it had to be games. So to go over this series real quick, Sonic X is a show that premiered back in 2003. Dang, there was a lot of stuff that happened in 2003 for Sonic. But anyways, although this show had a ton of original content, characters, and storylines, starting season 2, the series would adapt the Sonic Adventure storylines into the show. Starting in episode 27, we would have the Chaos arc, which would continue until episode 32, and the episode right after, episode 33, would begin the Adventure 2 arc with Shadow's story fitting in, and fully ending on episode 38. With the rest of the series doing more original plots like a Sonic Battle-esque plot with Emerald and all that such, and the show was originally going to end in episode 52, making 2 complete seasons. But when the show aired in America, dubbed by 4Kids Entertainment, the show was extremely popular. So much more popular that it would eventually get a 3rd season. Now, you may be expecting another tangent of me saying just because it's the 3rd season, it means that it's Adventure 3. No, but there's more to that, trust me. It's more than just the previous 2 adventures being adapted. It honestly feels so much more adventure feeling. Let me explain. So the 3rd season has a completely original story. A new species threat named the Metarex comes down to Sonic's home planet after a fight. You know, after Sonic spread the Chaos Emerald around and gave us this amazing line.
Are you crazy? What are we gonna do?
The Metarex are also in search of the life force of the planet, that being the Planet Eggs. So the gang, with help from the new character named Cosmo, oh, and this kid, who could forget the goat Chris Thorndike, all set out to space, going planet to planet, saving said planets, gathering the Chaos Emeralds, and stopping the Metarex from universal destruction. The adventure takes us all across the universe in this one, which I personally think is a step up from the secluded overworld of Adventure 1 to the country-trotting journey of Adventure 2. Even Shadow makes a reappearance of the events of episode 38, even being stored in a capsule like in the beginning of Heroes. Matter of fact, if you really want to look at it a weird way, it's essentially the Heroes story and the Dark story all over again, both having major roles in overarching narratives. Though once again, there is one major flaw, and that's mainly the series isn't canon to the actual games. I know that it doesn't really matter if we're talking about what a Sonic Adventure 3 could look like, but saying that this is Sonic Adventure 3 feels a little shallow. Especially if you're considering that no mention of the characters exist in any Sonic games. The only thing we got in terms of references is from social media posts and some hidden Easter eggs in other web series from the official Sonic channel. But otherwise, I could see someone saying this is like Adventure 3, but honestly, with no backbone to it, I could definitely say that this is just a separate thing entirely. You know, like all the other things so far. Just a small tangent, no fan game has attempted to make an actual game out of this season, which is strange. You would think there'd be some sort of fan game at some points. Hell, I'll even take an RPG Maker game. Make it happen, guys. Come on, we're sleeping on gold here. But for now, at least, all the characters are locked behind the vault behind Sega HQ. Yeah. Season 3 of Sonic X could be Sonic Adventure 3. I didn't write anything to end this section, so we can... So out of the few entries I mentioned already, which one could most be like Sonic Adventure 3? And the answer should be pretty obvious. It's Sonic Heroes. At least in my opinion. Sonic 06 is a close second, though. The biggest thing is just how it meshes so well with the previous 2 adventure games and kind of feels like a celebration out of those 2 games. 06 could have had a grand scale of it, might have taken a bit longer in development, and people would have had that Adventure 3 that they waited for a long time for. Even if we're discussing what could have been Sonic Adventure 3 in development, I'm actually kind of happy that there is no Adventure 3, weirdly enough. And I also don't think there is going to be one for a long time. Another 10 to 20 years long. If Sonic Team is really desperate for money, they can hit that big red button. Well, they did it before, and that nearly bankrupted them. The biggest reason why I feel like this way is because it's kind of hard to follow up on Adventure 2 and its ending. As I mentioned before, the way Shadow comes back in Heroes already begins his reintroduction into the series, that there being a fan favorite in Adventure 2. So writing a story that would either rewrite the way Shadow came back, or claim that the hero is an alternate timeline, or just write something entirely new in between the events of Adventure 2 and Heroes, it just feels weird to do. But honestly, it just makes more sense that Heroes would have been a follow-up to Adventure 2, which is just obvious from the start. I mean, I've just seen so much discussion of what Adventure 3 could have been, or what we want it to be. I honestly just want to put a nail in this argument. Not like anyone is going to see something like this, really. But hey, it's your job to spread this new video like wildfire and make the Sonic community even more angry. Or don't. I really don't care what you do. I also just don't know how to end videos like these, except for saying the real Sonic Adventure 3 was the friends we made along the way. Or enemies. Lots and lots of enemies.